great you are. That's the way we sing it. How great you are. God, this day we just ask that you would come into this place as you have done with each and every person. You never leave us nor forsake us, and now we just gather together. A great multitude of people all around the world who are celebrating your name today that we just kind of simply call church. It's just a gathering. Lord, why have you brought us here? What is it that you have for us today? What is it that we might hear that might move us, redirect us, or just give us confidence in what you have shared with us this week? God, we don't presume that there's any magic that's going to happen here this morning that you have not already kindled and rekindled in our lives. So Lord, this morning we just ask that as we would read the words that you have ordained on the page, that we could grow some knowledge, maybe get a better understanding. Maybe it's something today that you are preparing us for that we are yet to even know is going to happen tomorrow or Wednesday, Saturday. Lord, we know that you work that way. We know that you show us things ahead of time that we need to know for what we're going to face. So God, in this time of worship this morning, let us continue to be the worshipers that you are looking for, those who are worshiping in spirit and in truth. Thank you, Lord, for your passion. For without it, we are lost. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, use me this day. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, it's so good to have you here this morning. And we're going to continue on. This is our second week of Lent. Lent is those 40 days that follow up to Easter and get us into the Palm Sunday, and then Holy Thursday, and then Good Friday, and then Easter. And Easter's when we go to the tomb and we look in the tomb and we say, oh, not there. And he's risen, and because he's risen, our sins are forgiven. And we also have the power over sin and death. And so that's what these 40 days are for that we're celebrating here. Started last week. Last week we started on this little mini series here. I hate to say series, but started in on this little mini series called The Passion. What has led me here, or what has led us here? And really, it's got to be more about me. It can't be more about us. It's got to be more about me. And the reason it's got to be more about me is because exactly what Toby Keith's saying. It's all about me. It's all about mine. All about number one, oh my, me, mine. What I think, what I like, what I know, what I want, what I see. It's all about me. And really, the beauty of that is, Jesus Christ died on the cross for me. Now you can say that too. That's good that you can say that. But it's different when we apply me to it instead of just us to it. Us has a tendency to draw lines. Us has a tendency to start being we and they. But me, if we really take this whole thing about Jesus Christ's passion for me, all of a sudden it becomes very personal. And the truth is, you're not going to get to heaven in a group. You're going to get to heaven as a person, as a me, this is what Jesus has done for me, and this is what I am doing for him. Now, there's a little bit of struggle there because a lot of people would want you to believe that it has to do with what you're doing that's going to get you to heaven, and the truth is that's just not the truth. The truth is Jesus has already done everything Jesus is going to do to get you to heaven. Your job is to accept it. It's kind of like Mission Impossible. You know, at the end of the tape it says, if you choose to accept this, and then you have to decide, am I going to accept it or am I not going to accept it? Because the tape is going to burn. It's going to go up in smoke, and that was a big deal in the 60s and 70s when we saw that tape go up in smoke on television. Now it's not a big deal anymore because, you know, 4D graphics and all that kind of stuff makes it a whole lot different. But when we saw that tape burn out of nowhere, that was pretty cool. But that is life. Things change, things move. And one of the things that will always remain the same, Cliff spoke about it this morning, it's what we're talking about here. One of the things that will always remain the same is your passion. Your passion. Everyone has a passion for something. Everyone does. It's kind of finding that passion that's always, there's a little bit of darkness there sometimes. So where is it leading me? Where is it taking me? What's it going to be for me? And does my passion change? Well, let me tell you something. I have come to believe your passion really never changes. Your passion is what your passion is, and it's always going to be that way. You may grow out of being able to accomplish, now get this, you may grow out of being able to accomplish your passion. But you're going to find that the children that are 8 years old that are passionate about baseball will be passionate about baseball when they're 88 years old. It is something in you. You can't even describe it. The truth is, I have always, and I'm gonna tell again on my wife. Remember, I can only preach where I live, and I live with her, so I'm gonna preach about her. So, one of the things that irritates me the absolute most about my own wife is that we have a piano sitting in our house that never gets played. She can play the piano. I was never given that gift. I've always had a passion to be able to play the piano, but it's just not in me. I mean, I can remember sitting down at 5 years old because my mother made me every hour, 1 hour every day because I had piano lessons, and I tried. It's just not there. I don't have it. Those people, Sylvia Shaw, who can play the piano incredibly, if you don't keep playing the piano, all you're going to do is make somebody mad. I don't care if Elizabeth would sit down and play, what's the one that you play, not Moonlight Sonata, but the other one, Circus Man, or, shoot, can't think of it, I should have written it down.
Circus Man?
It's not Circus Man. That one. Whatever it is that, I don't care if she played over and over and over and over again, I just desire that piano to play.
The Entertainer.
Entertainer, that's it, the Entertainer. The Entertainer. Now, the reason I say the Entertainer is because I know she doesn't even have to look at the music. Her fingers will just do it. Now, part of our problem is this, and this is why I'm going to preach on her a little bit this morning. Part of our problem is this, and I think people that are passionate about somebody that has that kind of passion, one of the reasons that she says that she doesn't play much anymore is because it's not perfect. Have you ever dealt with that in your life? If you can't be perfect, you just don't want to do it. If I can't get it right, I don't want to do it. Well, trust me, you're going to get to an age where you're just glad to be out there. It doesn't have to even be right anymore. You're just glad to be out there. So again, I can only preach where I live, and so I'm going to tell you a little bit about this passion going in. Yesterday was my first day of 12 hours of soccer. And it rained horrible yesterday morning, but we get out there on the field, and it's soccer. And so what do I get to do? I get to warm up the goalies, and so I enjoy that part. I love that. Run around a little bit, kick the ball, do all that kind of stuff. Get home last night, sit down and think, oh my God, I hurt so bad. I'm going to die. I told Elizabeth, I said, I may not be able to move in the morning. I may have to just fall out of bed and get up off the floor. I hurt so bad. That's the reason I'm a swim coach. All I do is stand around. You know, if they made me get in the pool and show them how to do that, I would drown. I would drown. And I'm big enough, it'd take more than the lifeguards at Rose State to get me out. So, you don't have to laugh at that. So yesterday, I was dying. I was dying. My back hurt, my legs hurt, everything hurt. But you know what happens? What happens is when you get out there and you get involved in what's going on, you can't help it. You just want to do it. You just want to do it. I'll never be as good as the worst player on our team. But I'm out there just kicking like I know what I'm doing. I feel like Pele. You don't even know Pele. I feel like Pele when I'm out there. Some of you older people know Pele. Some of you don't even know that name.
Ronaldo.
Yeah, Ronaldo. Okay, Ronaldo. I don't know Ronaldo. So I'm just out there just going at it like I know what I'm doing. So it's just that passion in you to just get in there and be involved in it. So that's kind of where the scripture comes from this morning. So all of that was to lead up to this John 2. First of all, how many of you knew that Jesus cleared the temple twice? How many of you even knew that? Yeah, I bet. I bet not many people knew that. John 2. Okay? So we're going to start out John 2, 13 through 22. And it reads this way. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple courts he found men selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and others sitting at the tables exchanging money. So he made a whip out of the cords and drove all from the temple area, both sheep and cattle. He scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. To those who sold doves he said, "Get these out of here. How dare you turn my Father's house into a market?" His disciples remembered that it is written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." Then the Jews demanded of him, "What miraculous sign can you show us to prove your authority to do all this?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple and I will raise it again in 3 days." The Jews replied, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and you're going to raise it in 3 days?" But the temple he had spoken of was his body. After he was raised from the dead, his disciples recalled what he said. Then they believed the scripture and the words that Jesus had spoken. So, this is the first time. John 2, 13 through 22. This is the first time. This is the beginning of his ministry. This is when he goes to Jerusalem the first time with his disciples. And he goes in and he says, "Look, this is not what it's supposed to be. This is not. I want you to see this now." Now remember what they're saying is, they remembered back. They remembered back after his death that he was talking about his body, the temple, that would be raised in those days. The next time we see him clean the temple is in Matthew 21, 10 through 17. And when he comes in then, it is the very same day as what we're going to celebrate as Good Friday. Okay? Actually, that's not true. Palm Sunday. He comes in on Palm Sunday. And he comes in that week before, and this is where he is above Jerusalem. He's looking down over Jerusalem and he weeps for the city. And then he comes in that day. And when he comes in that day, he goes to the temple, because that's what you do when you're there for the Passover feast. And so you go to the temple, and as he goes to the temple, he looks around and he sees all these people again. 3 years later, he sees all these people again, still selling in the temple. And he goes in and he clears the temple. Interesting that Jesus begins his ministry and ends his ministry by clearing the temple. Do you think that he's passionate about what he's doing? I think so. We said last week, and last week was about the players, not playas, Amy, it's the players. I got here this morning, we're still on the board. Playas. It was about the players. You know who the players are in the Passion of Jesus Christ? We talked about this last week. Some of you were here, so you should already have answered that. The players are God. The players are Jesus. The players are the Pharisees. The players are the Romans. The players are the disciples. Guess what? The players are you and me. You and I are players in this passion of Jesus Christ. It's 2,000 years later, but we're still players in this. We're still a part of this story. if you can't put yourself in the story, then you're missing the meaning of the Bible altogether. If you can't put yourself in the story, you're missing the meaning of what we call church. If you can't put yourself in the story, you've probably missed Jesus somewhere along the line. And so it is about me. I have to put myself in the story. And so last week was about the players in the story. This week is about the stage. So you have to have a stage to play on. I don't know what kind of stage you play on. I know what kind of stage some people play on, only because I'm familiar with your life and familiar with what you do and how you go about it. But everyone has a stage. You get up every morning and you prepare yourself in the green room. That's the way the drama people put it. You prepare yourself in the green room and you get ready to go out and get on the stage. You do the things that are necessary. I was really involved in drama in high school. And so one of the things that we would do is we would get together in a circle before we would go out to perform. I won the red brick, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. That's
Opera
a big
Club
deal.
President.
Huh?
Opera Club President.
There you go, and I was the Opera Club president. Now, Opera Club is kind of a, it was kind of a big deal. I want you to know, but anyway. But I won the red brick in high school, and the red brick was what you could only vote with pennies. And so everybody would come to the performances and they would vote. They would put out these jugs out there with a picture of the person that was in the main cast, and you could vote with pennies. And I will honestly tell you that I can remember very clearly my dad walking in one of the nights. He didn't come every night, but it was a 4-night thing, and my dad would come in, and honestly his pants were just bulging with pennies. made me feel really good. So I don't know who else's family had bulging pants with pennies, but my dad had bulging pants with pennies, and there's something cool about that. Just it's one of those things you remember when you're old and you think, yeah, but my dad, he brought all the pennies that night. So we would get together in a group right after we had gotten all of our makeup on, right after we got all of our microphones hooked up and taped to you and that kind of stuff, and we would get together in a group and we would stand around in a circle with our arms just like we did yesterday at soccer, and we would put our right foot in. I don't know how you all did it in softball. Maybe you put your right foot in, put your right foot out, put your right foot in, and turn. No, that's a different story. And anyway, we'd stand there, and then we would have this prayer, and the prayer at soccer was one. The very first time I heard it was Courtney Esri sharing the prayer, and how God is going to ordain the red and gray this day, and how we're going to win, and all that kind of stuff. And then different times, everybody's got their own little thing where they would come together. And Lord, I preached on this a couple of years ago. One of the things that I heard 2 years ago was when you'd say, Lord, don't give us the victory, give us the strength to go earn it. That's a beautiful statement. But everybody's got their own little thing that they do, and so drama did that too. We made it like this mystical something or another. There was something that we were calling upon things that are bigger than us and greater than us. Everybody has that. Everybody has that. It doesn't matter what stage you're on. Everybody's got this thing that they get together and they somehow, even church people, we all get together and we say, if I were to start this right now, you all would join in. If I were to say, okay, everybody bow their heads. All I have to do is, and trust me, there's times that I have absolutely forgotten. Completely forgotten the entire Lord's Prayer, but all I had to remember was, Our Father who art in heaven. I have been at a funeral before when I completely forgot the Lord's Prayer, other than, Our Father who art in heaven. But that's all you got to say. And when you say that, everybody goes, blah, 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 blah. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. And everybody just joins in, and then you just kind of mumble along. Because I don't even know what, I forgot it completely. I'm not real passionate about the Lord's Prayer. If you're passionate about something, you never forget it. It's always there. It's always in your mind. So my family this week is playing Trivia Crack. I think that's what it's called, Trivia Crack, right? It's like Trivia on Crack or something like that. My family this week is playing Trivia Crack, and they're all... So Emily would occasionally, of course, I'm slow because I have to get my glasses because I can't read the screen on the phone. So, you've only got 45 seconds to answer, and so sometimes I'm trying to get my glasses on and read. The information that is stuck in your head that is absolutely worthless to humanity is incredible. Incredible. Who won Super Bowl 51? Boom, boom, got it. That was just one from last night. Different things, stuff that goes on. We were over at Matt and Susie's the other day, and we were playing this game called I Know. And information that's in your head that is absolutely useless to humanity pops up out of nowhere because I love history. It's passionate to me. I remember those things. I love sports of all kinds, so it's passionate to me. I remember those things. Why? I don't know. It has nothing to do with my real life, I don't think. But it's passionate. And that's what we're getting to here with Jesus. So what was the situation that led him to Jerusalem? That's what we're here for. What was the situation? Why did he tear up the temple one day and then tear up the temple 3 years later? What led him to this place? Well, the political situation was this. And we have to face facts. Jesus continues to be one of the most influential people in the world today. Still, many of our wars are still being fought over, do you believe this way or do you believe this way? Many of our wars are still being raged over, do you believe in Jesus Christ or do you believe in Allah? And trust me, God and Allah are not the same people. You may have been fooled by that. It's not true. We're still talking about this dude 2,000 years later. Now, many of you, Joanne, I didn't mean to call Jesus a dude, but he's just a dude. He's just a guy that showed up on the scene, started talking about loving your neighbor, and you know what we did? You don't talk about love your neighbor in places where neighbors are not loved. They killed him. Now think about that. Think about the political situation at the time. If you're going to make an impact like that, you're going to make a lot of people angry. You're going to make a lot of people mad. If you're going to go out and start talking about loving your neighbor, people don't like that. We like setting up lines. We like the we and they. We like the fact that I am better than you. Tell me that the Olympics aren't all about that. I mean, I've been watching the Olympics, with a passion. I love the Olympic U.S. gold curling team. I did not know them before 2 weeks ago, but any of the four of those guys could come into my house and we could have a beer. I mean, because it looks like they found these guys at a bar. And they
supply beer.
Yeah, you might have already done that. Okay, well, I have, but it was curled up and I hurt so bad. So, anyway, this whole thing of Joshua and I were sitting there in the living room and I said, where'd they find these guys? And they look like, if you remember the Saturday Night Live skit from the Bears days in the 1978, they look like the guys that they just found them in a bar and said, you guys want to go throw some rocks, down the deal on the ice? Well, yeah, we'll go. What do you have to do? You just knock them out of the way. I'll do that. And here they go out and they win the gold. And the purpose in me sharing that with you is, if you don't believe in we and they, then you have no understanding of haters gonna hate. You get that, right? Haters gonna hate. If we're winning, you hating. Trust me, I can say this morning. I didn't know you all were going to be here, but the fact is, Carl Albert is hated across the world. At least in Central Oklahoma. But it's not a worldwide thing. But because I've been around the world and people don't even know Carl Albert. But we're known for championships. You don't get championships, you're not much at Carl Albert. Now, I hate to say that, but there's a big difference. It's a we and they. Even within Carl Albert, it's a we and they. That's the reason I go around telling everybody we're first in 5A. Right? Because I want to be the champion in 5A. That's what I want. So I'm going to keep working and try to kick those people out. So I can be first in 5A. That's what I want to do. Because haters gonna hate. You know what? I hate Stillwater. Because I'm a hater. I hate Booker T because I'm a hater. I hate it. I don't like the fact it's not fair, but I just hate it. Crucifixion was not a one-time thing to the Romans. That was going to head change there, wasn't it? Crucifixion was not a one-time thing to the Romans. The Romans, they were so passionate about keeping in control and being we versus they, that they would line the road into town with crucifixions. This was not a just, hey, we're going to hang 3 guys on a cross some week and talk about it for 2,000 years. No, this was something where the Romans would crucify people and line the towns on the way to the street to say, you get out of hand, that's what you're going to get. That's the way it is. So that's the political environment in Jesus' time. What's exactly going on in the Roman Empire? They're just trying to remain in control. They're just trying to keep the money going. Because the truth is, it doesn't matter if you're talking about church, it doesn't matter if you're talking about softball, it doesn't matter if you're talking about swimming, it doesn't matter if you're talking about Kelly Sports, it doesn't matter if you're talking about anything, it's all about the money. It's all about the money. We don't like to admit that. We like to say, oh, well, it's pure, this is a pure sport. Well, there's not such thing as a pure sport anymore. I mean, tiddlywinks on the back porch, that might be pure. Until you tell somebody, I'll give you a quarter if you can beat me. Then it's about the money. Love your neighbor. If you love your neighbor, you very well could end up executed on a cross. That's kind of harsh, isn't it? That's kind of a painful reality. So, that was the political situation in Jerusalem. And Jesus was still passionate enough to come into it and say, we're not going to do it this way. This is not right. I'm going to tear this place apart. He began his ministry by saying, I'm going to tear this place apart. And he ended his ministry by tearing it apart. The Jews were excited for a Messiah. Understand this. They were excited for a Messiah. They've been reading about a Messiah for a long, long time. They were really excited about a Messiah. They just weren't hyped on Jesus. They just didn't think Jesus was the right guy. They expected somebody to come in and do what? Kick the Romans out. That's what they wanted. Even his own disciples didn't understand. He told them and told them and told them, and they didn't get it. They kept saying, no, you're going to take over. It's going to be good. We're going to be the ruling authority here. It wasn't that they didn't want a Messiah coming. They understood a Messiah was coming. They just didn't understand that it was Jesus. They expected somebody to come in brandishing a sword, not coming in saying, let's just love everyone. Let's take them all in. Let's make everyone our neighbor. We don't like that. We don't like that. We don't like the fact that really and truly, if we get right down to it, it is that whole thing about Jesus' commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength.
Your neighbor as yourself.
And love your neighbor as yourself. What? No. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. My neighbor's weird. I don't mean to say this negatively towards you, Regina, but my neighbor's a cat lady. She's got cats. I can't even walk in her house. I mean, it's cats. It's cat. I'm allergic to cats. I can't love everyone. I mean, that's just too big a thing. Love them all? I told the kids on the swim team, it always does have a swim story in it. I mean, it's not just because you're here. I actually share this every week. But I told the kids on the swim team after the shooting in Florida, hey, don't forget. Don't forget. I love you. There should never be a time that there's anybody that doesn't think they're loved. How do you go shoot people? I mean, I know this is way oversimplification, but the reason you go shoot people is because you think, nobody cares about me, nobody loves me. I can do that. Man's inhumanity to man comes from either somebody shooting at you, which our greatest generation experienced. That was the people in World War II and World War I and Vietnam and Korea who, if somebody's shooting at you, you have a kind of a tendency to want to kill. I mean, that only makes sense. But if no one's shooting at you, you just go into the softest target you can find and try to kill people, it's because you feel pretty desperate and alone. You feel isolated. You're not in your right mind. And so, hey, if there's anybody here that wants to pull out a gun and start shooting, I love you. I love you. I mean, don't forget that. I mean, you're less likely to shoot me knowing that I love you than Cliff, because you don't know Cliff at all. Take Cliff out first. Well, the rest of us will run. Oh, sorry, Cliff. Well, you're probably carrying, so that's okay. You can shoot back. And do you get this stage that we're on? You get this stage that Jesus is on? He's shown up in Jerusalem. He's angry. He's mad. He is a Messiah, but they didn't see that he was a Messiah. They said, this is not the guy we want. We weren't looking for a guy to love us all. We were looking for a guy to take over. Isn't that who we follow? Now, honestly, isn't that who we follow? Do you follow the one that goes around saying, Amy, I love you, let's just have a good time, let's just enjoy life? Or do you follow the one, okay, here it goes. I was afraid to use this, but I'm going to use it. Do you follow more like LeBron James? I am such an important person to society, everybody needs to know my opinion. That's what LeBron James said last week. I am such an important person in society that everyone deserves to hear my opinion. You would not believe the millions of people that are going to follow that because he's big and successful. Folks, this guy throws a ball through a hoop. And the reason that he's big and successful is because you and I are paying him. You may not think you're paying him, but every month I pay my DirecTV bill. I'm paying him. Every month you pay your Cox cable bill, you're paying him. Every month. We're all putting into the fund. You may not think of it that way, but trust me, the television dollars dry up, LeBron James is just a guy that puts a ball through a hoop. That's the kind of stage we live in. That's the kind of stage we have around us. Is this stage that says, all you have to do is be successful and you get the loudest voice. Well, the other stage that was going on here was that there was a brand new temple that was under construction. I want you to know a little bit about this simply because I think we've kind of gotten the stages mixed up. We have a tendency to think that the largest churches, the ones that have the most fancy stuff, they're the ones that should be getting all of the credibility. And so, matter of fact, I even said stage. Stages. And so, literally, Herod the Great, who was alive when Jesus was born, remember, he was the one that said, let's kill all the babies that are 2 years and under. And that way we'll just make sure we got rid of Jesus. All the baby boys 2 years and under, we'll just kill all of them. And then this was also the guy that was so isolated and so ashamed of who he was that when he died, before he died, about 6 months before he died, he had, remember this is Herod the Great, he was the chief priest and head rabbi of the Jewish faith who had started the new temple to build onto it to make it look bigger and more fancy, who got the Pharisees to agree that when he died, they would kill about 2,000 Jews in Jerusalem. Probably haven't heard that story, have you? And the reason he did that was because he said, fact is, they won't be mourning me, but they'll be mourning. That's all he wanted. He just needed mourners. It was a big deal, remember, in the Jewish faith to have mourners. As a matter of fact, if you didn't have enough mourners, you went out and paid for people to come and mourn for you. That's what you did. So he said, we're going to kill about 2,000 Jews on the day I die. That way they'll at least be mourning. Well, the Pharisees didn't follow through with that. That's why you don't hear about it in the Bible, but it was a part of the history of Herod the Great. So this is the kind of stage we're set on. The truth is, it's the same stage. I hope you're hearing a little bit out of current events. one of the things that you notice in current events is every time something tragic happens, it even came out this last week or 2 weeks ago when we have a shooting where 17 young people are killed. Not 17 all young people, because there were some adults in there, but that's all you hear, 17 young people. When 17 people are killed in Florida, what is the next thing that you hear? You may not realize this, but the next thing you hear is, what's the government covering up for? That's the kind of stuff that goes on. That's the kind of theories that are in people's head. Well, we're just trying to get people to focus on this because the government's covering up for something over here. That's the kind of stage we live in today. Guess what? That's the kind of stage they lived in then. It's the exact same stage that Jesus lived in. I know that we are not to be Jesus. You and I are not to be the Messiah. The Messiah has already come. But we are to live like Him. He was passionate about what He did, and that's what led Him here. This is the stage that we live on. The Jewish local government was pretty shifty. Pretty shifty. You think that doesn't have anything to do with our government? Our government's pretty shifty. That's kind of a nice way of saying our government is rotten. Now, I hate to say it, but the truth is the truth. We can get all excited about our national government and how horrible it is and all that kind of stuff. We'll look at our state government. Well, we can get all excited about looking at our state government. This is the stage that's set. This is the stage that you and I live in. You see, if we can't take the Scripture and make it relevant to us today, what difference does it make? So, what about our state government? Our state government's pretty stinking shifty. Guess what? But what about our county government? What about our county government? Now, those of you all that live in town, you probably don't notice this that much. But those of us that live out of town a little bit, county commissioners never drive on gravel roads. You think that's not just a little bit shifty? Because they take care of their roads. They don't take care of your road. My gosh, it takes a four-wheel drive to go down your road. Right, Carter? Yeah. I mean, there are places on your road that you could fall off into and not be seen for a while. I mean, people could drive right by you and never even know you were there. There are holes that big. Not the county commissioner's road. Okay, that's too big still. I mean, that's a county thing. People don't even pay attention to county government much. What about Midwest City? Think there's not some shifty things going on in Midwest City? Hey, I know Pat Byrne. I like Pat Byrne. Pat Byrne's a personal friend of mine. I think he's doing a good job. But he found out when he got elected as a councilman in Midwest City, oh my gosh. I talked to him one night at a football game. He said, I had no idea. I had no idea. I thought I could come in and make a change. He said, Kirk, right now, I am doing nothing more than just trying to play catch up all the time, trying to figure out what's going on. Because there are so many deals going on around and under the table that nothing that happens in the council meeting makes any real difference at all. He said a lot of that is nothing more than to put something good in the paper. That's coming from one of our own city councilmen. You think that's not shifty? How far can you go with this, Kirk? Well, what about the shiftiness in your own family? See, because that's really what God's talking about. God really doesn't give a whole lot of concern about your government. He really doesn't. I know that may sound silly. I know that we sit around all the time during election years and say, pray for our government, pray for our government, pray for our government. You know who God wants? God wants you. If He can get us to change, if He can get me to change, if He can get me to do the right thing, and you to do the right thing, and everyone else to do the right thing, the government's not the issue. You see, that's the stage that we play on, is that we have a tendency to deflect our own problems by always looking somewhere else and saying, if they would just fix that. It comes back to that we and they thing. Us against them. When really, we just need to be really concerned with us and God and the relationship there. Israel was still reeling from Herod the Great. Remember, he dies. He's the one that dies. And so Israel's still reeling from Herod the Great. But he had 3 sons. And the Romans separated Israel out into 3 different groups and said, okay, you have this area, you have this area, you have this area. Just don't make any problems. If you make any problems, we're going to come in and we're going to take you out. And so what happens here is leading up to the Passion of Jesus. What happens here leading up to this triumphal entry into Jerusalem? What happens leading up to Easter is the Romans send Pontius Pilate in. He had only been there a month because they knew that the Passover celebration was coming. They knew that Jesus had already created this little stir coming up. They knew, and so they sent an army in to be there during this time. It was Herod Antipas who had ticked them off and said, hey, I got this guy up here in Galilee, because that's what he had been given. He was the son of Herod the Great. And he said, I've got this guy up here in Galilee. He's creating a lot of fuss. And he's going to be coming to the Passover feast, and so you all just need to know about that. And so that's where we get Pontius Pilate. King Herod Antipas was playing both sides. That may sound crazy to you, but don't you? Don't you play both sides? Well, you don't have to admit it. Don't nod your head, because that just gives away too much. But we all play both sides. We play our side and their side. I spent an hour this week at my tax man's table, and I'll just, if there is a tax person in here that wants to turn me in, fine, because I get mine done at the CPA, so he has to go fight the IRS for me. I don't. But I spent an hour this week at my tax man's table, and he was laying out for me on a piece of paper, this is if we do it this way, this is if we do it this way, this is if we do it this way. This is if we add Joshua in, this is if Joshua does it completely on his own, this is if you all kind of do a mix. Heck, I didn't even know you could do a mix. Because the truth is, I want to play both sides. Because, remember what I started the sermon with? Because it's all about me. It's all about I. It's all about number one, oh my, me, my. What I think, what I like, what I know, what I want, what I see. It's all about me. So this is the stage that's set. So what stage do you function on? I mean, it's so easy to take this story of Jesus and make it something that is nothing but history. That is not the goal of Christ. The goal of Christ is to make this story about you and me. The crowds were hungry to hear Jesus on this stage. They were. You know why? Because he was the magic man. He was the magic man. They wanted to hear it. They thought it was so cool when he would come and there would be 5,000 people there that were hungry, and he could take some bread and some fish and feed them all and have 12 baskets left over. You tell me you don't want to be in that crowd. That is a cool thing. That's cool. We talk about it as a story of a miracle, and sometimes we just leave it there. No, not if you were in the crowd that day, you didn't leave it there. You thought, I want to see some more of that. That was awesome. That's the reason that in the 1980s and 90s, David Copperfield had a tendency to go and make the Statue of Liberty disappear. Do you remember that? Now, some of you aren't old enough to remember that, and that's okay. But it was all sleight of hand. It's what I say when I do a standing toe touch. If I were to do a standing toe touch for you right now, you would say, "Ha! Was amazing. Can you do that again?" And I would tell you, it's all done with mirrors. It's the smoke. I make the smoke come up. It's all done. You didn't see what you saw. Isn't that what the magic people say? You really didn't see what you saw. Did you ever get a magic set as a kid? I had a magic set. It was so awesome. My magic set one of the first things in my magic set was, it's not what you think. Do you remember putting the quarter in the little slide thing? Have y'all ever had one of those? Gosh, I gotta get you one. You put the quarter in the slide thing, you slide it back, quarter's gone. Where did that quarter go? Now, you and I know. I just got your quarter. I mean, that's the first thing you think, I just lost a quarter. But the next thing you think is, the quarter didn't disappear. That's not possible. The quarter did not disappear. The quarter slid to the other end. So all you do is slide it back and forth, the quarter's gone. But you see, that's not the way Jesus was. Jesus comes in and he is so good at this magic thing, the people, the stage is set, the people want to see it. So now I'm going to go back to our professional sports again. Why do we pay millions and millions and millions of dollars to go watch somebody play a game? Because it's magic. How does he do that? How does he get down the court that fast? How does a player this week, talked about players last week, how does the player this week with 1 second on the clock get a pass from outside the boundary and put it up from 3 and make it inside of 1 second? How does that happen? Is that luck? Maybe. But we see it happen over and over again. People do this on a regular basis. And so the stage that they're on is much higher than the stage that we're on. And so we go pay a lot of money to go watch them do this. Football? Basketball? Heck, I'd have paid more this week to watch curling than about anything. Curling was just awesome. I think what's so awesome about that in particular is I know nothing about it. I don't even understand all the rules. And so just to watch them do that, I would have to wait until it came up on the screen. How many points they made? I don't know how many points they made. But we're ahead. That's all that matters. You see, that's the stage that's set for Jesus to come in. And so the most important question that we have to answer today, money, politics, religion, all of this were intricately tied together. That's the stage that Jesus comes into. And so the stage that we have to answer this week is, what stage are you really playing on? What stage are you playing on? I am so excited. I am so excited about watching people move from one stage to the next. And so it's pretty cool, the fact that I've had Joshua as an assistant coach all year long. Because he moved from I am the swimmer to now I am the coach. And watching him progress through this has been awe-inspiring in some ways, because it's such a change from being in the water to being on the deck, and him listening and learning and then trying to put in. You see, Joshua sees both sides that I've never understood or experienced because I've never been in the water as a swimmer. But Joshua sees the time at home sitting on the computer as I'm doing all of this stuff, and he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm coaching." We don't see that about our coaches. All we see is them yelling at us and screaming at us and saying how poor we did or how great we did or whatever the conflict could be, and trying to fix all that. We don't see the hours that are put in and just, oh, this is coaching. What stage do you see? What stage are you on? So this morning, since you're here, I get to say it. So this morning, you all have a stage at school. I'm not talking about in the Performing Arts Center area. I'm talking about the stage. Your stage is walking up and down the hall. Your stage is sitting in a classroom. Your stage is are the people that know you and that you know. That's your stage. You're getting ready to move on to a whole different stage. You're getting ready to move on to an entirely different stage. And that stage is going to be completely different from any stage you've been on before. It's all brand new. And you moved on to that stage, and it's so exciting at the beginning, and now it's like, oh gosh, this is kind of horrible. I don't know what I'm doing. And not that I can't do school. School's okay. It's just, it's not what I expected. It's a different stage. And trust me, when you move to a different stage, you talked about it this morning. You said, this is really kind of for old people. I mean, that's kind of what you said. You didn't say quite those words, but this is really kind of for old people. And yeah, because old people, we move to a different stage. It's the stage of me saying, I probably don't need to be out there running around acting like a soccer player because my back still hurts. And so, but it's the stage you move to. It's the stage. And I can share this now because it's a few years later and surely like the statutes of limitations run out. But it's the stage you went through when you said, I can't show them anymore. I can't break that foot and show them anymore because it hurts too bad. That's a stage. You move from one stage to the next. And the stage that you're playing on then changes. When you have a child, the stage you're playing on changes. When you lose a spouse, the stage you're playing on changes. When you lose a parent, the stage that you're playing on changes. So what stage are you playing on? When you have an illness, the stage you're playing on changes. What stage are you playing on? One of the things that we struggle with is, am I bold enough? Maybe even a better word is brave enough. Am I brave enough to play on this stage? The reason I say that is because every time the stage changes, you have to decide, am I brave enough to play on this stage? Am I bold enough to play on this stage? Because see, every time you move up, and the reason I know this is because people die, they're dying every day. I don't know if you all noticed that, but people are dying every day. And so the further up on this stage that you move, the fewer and fewer people. You see, it's not just going to professional sports, where the kid that's in 6th grade that's playing baseball, and he gets told, hey, you know, the truth is, when you ask a kid, I overheard it, I think it was yesterday, I overheard somebody saying, they asked their kid when he was 12, hey, what are you going to be when you grow up? He said, I'm going to be a professional baseball player. And so the mom looked at him and said, okay, well, do you have a second choice? Now think about that just for a second. Wasn't that an incredible answer? Wasn't that an incredible question for the mom to say? Because too many moms are going to say, you have no idea, Mike. Only 1 in 999 million are going to end up being professional baseball players, so you better give up that idea. That's the wrong thing to say to somebody. The right thing to say is, well, what would be your second choice? Because the truth is, you could be a professional baseball player, and even then, you're only going to be a professional baseball player for so long. And the stage is going to change. And so the stage that we're going through right now is, you're getting older, and the older you get, guess what? The fewer of you there are. You tell me how many people are 100 and above. You see, their stage is pretty small. So the question that you have to decide, it doesn't matter if you're 14 or 12 or 88, it makes no difference. Do you have the boldness to play on this stage? You are speaking for Christ. You may not recognize that you're speaking for Christ, but you are speaking for Christ. You're speaking for Him, either for Him or against Him, but you're speaking for Him. If you call yourself a Christian, then you are on a stage that is speaking for Christ. Do you always make the right speech on that stage? No. No. therein lies grace. But you're speaking, and you're on that stage. What tables need to be turned over on the stage that you're in? Thought I'd never get back to that scripture, didn't you? What tables need to be turned over? What doves need to be released? I love this scene from John 2. So here he is in the temple, hanging out, watching what's going on. John 2 says it in a way that Matthew doesn't say it at all. Matthew, he just walks in there and he starts kicking people out. He starts kicking the fannies of everybody in the temple. But John 2 doesn't say that. John 2 says, he fashioned a whip. In the King James it says, he took time to make a whip of cords. You ever think of Jesus as getting mad? If he had long enough to sit there and fashion a whip of cords, he got pretty mad. He watched. He paid attention. And then he got up. I would love to be real dramatic for you right now and flip this table upside down. But he got up and he started turning the tables over. What tables do you need to turn? Isn't that where that came from? If you didn't know that, I'm telling you right now. What tables need to be turned? Have you ever had the tables turned on you? I have. It's not fun. What tables need to be turned over? What things need to be changed? This stage that you're living in right now, what needs to be changed? Do you have the boldness and the bravery to go and live this out on this stage? Jesus showed when he stepped into Jerusalem the first time, yes, I do. And when he stepped into Jerusalem for his final time, he said, yes, I do. I will be bold. I will be brave. The word bold is used in both of these scriptures, and it's also used in Romans in this very same context when Paul says, if you're going to sin, sin boldly. The same Greek word is used in all three. If you're going to sin, sin boldly. And what he's saying is, you may make mistakes, but you need to run headlong onto this stage. You need to go in. You need to, if things don't go right, okay, God is there. But you've got to go in. You've got to turn the tables over. You've got to throw people out that are doing the wrong thing. You have to set the captives free. Did you ever think about that in regard to these doves? It's not just a dramatic for dramatic effect. He was setting captives free. It's an incredible story on a miraculous stage. Are you bold enough to truly take the passion that you have and live it for Christ? It's going to get you in trouble. And the reason it's going to get you in trouble is because sometimes you run headlong into somebody else that has just as much passion as you do. When that happens, conflict occurs. If you're passionate, now listen, if you're passionate, it's probably going to get you in trouble. Did Jesus? Nothing wrong with being in trouble for the right thing. So what led you here? Was it your passion? What's going to lead you into tomorrow? I don't know why, but I have to admit something to you this morning. I can wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning is not one of the things I enjoy. But I can wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go drive a bus. I don't know what that is. You might have thought I was going to say go fishing or play golf. That would be true too. But what about going and driving a bus for a sport that I know nothing about? I have a passion to be around those kids. I don't know why that is. I didn't ask for that. I need the money. That's one thing. But I'm getting less and less passionate about money. And you know, every day that I get less and less passionate about money, the devil has less and less to hold on to me about. Because that's always been the place that he attacked me first. So I can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go drive a bus for kids that I don't know anything about their sport. And the truth is, I don't even care what sport it is anymore. So, you need me to drive for soccer? Sure. You need me to drive for golf? I know golf, but, you know, you can't really coach somebody in golf when they're out there on the course. That all comes in practice. You need me to drive for chess? All right. I barely know the positions the chess sets up in, Ben, to be truthful. And I do know all the, you know, I do know what they can all do. I suck at it. That's the problem. So I just stay away from it. But I'm passionate about the kids. I want them to be successful on their stage. And I want to be successful on my stage. So I close with this. Yesterday, after having driven for soccer for the last 4 years, maybe 5 years, I don't know. A coach turned around to me at the end as they had said all of their stuff that they say at soccer and all the X's and O's and how they should have played this differently and all that kind of stuff. And the coach turns around to me and says, Coach Norman, do you have anything to say? I said, yeah. I said, you'll never hear me talk about X's and O's of soccer. Because I don't know. But I do know teams. And I'd rather have 11 of you that have less skill all playing together as one than having 4 of you that have all the skill in the world and 7 of you just running around the field. So if you'll play together as one, we'll win a lot of games. You see, what the devil wants us to do is to keep separating and making it we and they. I want all the glory. Jesus says, I died for every one of you. So nobody gets any more or any less than the next. Let's just play together as one. Let's love them all. What would happen if we just loved them all? Not just the ones that have the skills. Well, you've got a passion. So let your passion drive your focus. We'll all be the better for it. Let us pray. Father God, this day, we don't always understand how or why. Sometimes we wonder when people walk in the door, why are you here? And yet, Lord, we know that every person has a story. Every person has something to share. Every person has a passion deep inside. Let that passion come out for you as you have let your passion come out for us. We ask all these things in Jesus' name.